Good evening, welcome to the Pearl Report. I'm Diana Lin. Hong Kong has a vibrant nightlife with music to suit eclectic tastes. For decades, jazz in Hong Kong was an expat's niche. That's changing. Homegrown talents have become household names. Producer Yan Zhao meets musicians and all that jazz.
Music has always been evolving. It's a fusion of culture.
But my job also here is not just as a musician, is to entertain the people.
As a jazz musician, we need to perform the music as an art form, not just to entertain people.
Playing guitar in the house band at the jazz club, it's kind of like a school to me.
It's more difficult to survive. Jazz is now you listen to the music, encourage you to drink more.
You have been playing classical music for 13 years. You step into the jazz scene, you have to learn from zero.
Thank you.
Ned Kelly's Last Stand in Tsim Sha Tsui, Hong Kong's oldest pub. Retro facade. Aussie fitments. Memorabilia. And
New Orleans Dixieland Jazz. Basically, what people come here for is the foot-tapping, fun jazz. Jazz music originated from the slaves in Africa, you could say, but in New Orleans, jazz music in the 1920s, going right through, was basically dance music.
Colin Aitchison and his China Coast Jazzmen have played here for 19 years.
We are basically the only full-time Dixieland jazz band. There's not many places these days where you will find a resident band 5 nights a week.
A Dixieland band usually comprised trumpet, clarinet, trombone, piano, string bass, drums, banjo, and more. Band members are all versatile instrumentalists. Clarinet player Franco Falusi also plays tenor saxophone. Joe Nedres on the banjo and the bass.
Very enjoyable. I like playing jazz. You play live music and the people are so live.
Colin, a British vocalist and trombonist, first encountered Hong Kong in the 1980s as a musician on cruise ships. In the 1990s, he decided to settle here and formed the China Coast Jazzmen.
There was more opportunities. I remember, before 97, I was run off my feet. It was, you could see, the golden era.
They often jammed with the Kowloon Honkers, then resident band at Ned Kelly's, before taking over in 1998.
My job also here is not just as a musician, is to get them clapping along, to applaud. My biggest number is a song by Louis Armstrong called What a Wonderful World. That's the one, that song, I see trees of green, red. That's my biggest here. That's the one I get mostly requested.
Ned Kelly's Last Stand opened in 1972. Big names such as trumpeter Kenny Ball and ragtime pianist Winifred Atwell have performed here.
We're not a club, we're a jazz pub. We get people in who are not jazz fans, we get all walks of life. We try to make them a jazz fan at the end of the night. We are there to give entertainment, and that's, I think, why we survive.
Jazz music was first heard in Hong Kong in the 1930s. It was played in restaurants to entertain the British garrison. By the 1950s and 60s, live jazz was played in more venues, such as hotels and nightclubs. In 1989, the Jazz Club and Bar opened in Lan Kwai Fong, ushering in a golden decade in the local jazz scene.
That was really the first, in the history of Hong Kong, the first dedicated jazz club.
It held nightly jazz jams. More than 200 international jazz artists have performed there. In 1992, it also held the first Hong Kong International Jazz and Blues Festival.
It was so great that even the foreign visiting top-name jazz musicians, they enjoyed themselves so much. It kind of put Hong Kong on the jazz map. We were proud of that.
The jazz club nurtured budding local guitarist Eugene Powell.
I was lucky enough to be playing guitar in the house band at the jazz club. So I get to meet a lot of these incoming great jazz musicians, to play with them, perform with them, and learn from them. Being on stage, learning from making mistakes, it's kind of like a school to me.
The jazz club paid up to $1,000 a night for top jazz artists. Its clientele was mainly expat. It managed to break even for 7 years. By the late 1990s, the club was hit by rent increases. New investors decided to change it to a general music lounge to attract a wider audience. Fewer international jazz legends visited. Local jazz talents switched to performing in music rooms once or twice a week. The jazz club closed in 2003.
We have a fear to call only as a jazz bar, because if the people, they like other kind of music, and then they will not come to your bar.
Joyce Pang, a jazz fan, opened Joyce Is Not Here in 2004.
The bar was very small, so for jazz and for classical, it was okay. So jazz is like a duo or trio. The atmosphere was very intimate, and it was really suitable for jazz music.
Joyce later opened Peel Fresco. Peel Street became a music hub. But in 2013, surging rents forced her to close one bar and sell her shares in the other.
The difference between the jazz club and Joyce Is Not Here is this is not specifically jazz. But I hope there's going to be more places like this in Hong Kong. It's very sad to see it go.
Peel Street plays a very important role in the music life of Hong Kong. There's people who come through here and they get their first start, you know, so where else are they going to go to after this?
At the end of 2015, Joyce opened the exclusively jazz Orange Peel with cheaper rent in Lan Kwai Fong.
The best jazz musician in Hong Kong, I know all of them, and they also play here a lot. So why don't we provide a pure jazz thing to the audience? It's more difficult to survive, very, very risky. Jazz is now rock, it's now R&B. It's not you listen to the music and then encourage you to drink more. They drink like a one zip and a one zip.
By day, Joyce works as an interior designer.
This is my professional job, but bar, they don't make money. So you just put the profit from this business to another business, and hopefully you'll break even. With the business getting better, and then I just go there, relax, have a drink. But now is I have to go there work. Tonight, we are very proud to have Eugene Powell. He is the legend of jazz in Hong Kong.
Why it's so special with jazz music is because there's this improvisational aspect within the music where it lets the player to freely express themselves. Each night, same piece of music is going to sound differently, and it really depends also on what the other musician that I'm playing with, they might react to something you do, and then you start to react to what they just reacted. So it's like this chain reaction. The best improvisers can tell a story using the notes, like speaking, like language, to convey a message.
Eugene Pao is the first Hong Kong jazz musician to sign with international labels. He often plays in jazz festivals around the world, but likes his native jazz venues as well.
Jazz is best when it's enjoyed in a more intimate environment where the audience can closely see and feel what the musician is doing on stage. It's also about the give and take, the back and forth with the musician and the audience. I am happy that there are still venues in Hong Kong that's interested in jazz. We as jazz musicians have to take all the opportunities we can get to just to go out there and play and make it more easier for people to go out and listen to.
Coming up after the break, forging new boundaries in jazz fusion.
This is the first time I orchestrate, arrange jazz with Chinese instruments. The combination of the pei pai and the yiwu and all that is beautiful.
The keynote of fresh blood.
We need to perform the music as an art form.
Stay with us. Welcome back to the Pearl Report. There are new sounds in Hong Kong's small but evolving jazz scene. A veteran musician forging new boundaries in fusion delves into Chinese traditions, and new blood merging jazz with rock and hip-hop. Producer Yan Zhao meets the talents behind the dynamics of jazz in Hong Kong.
The combination of the pei pai and the yiwu and all that is beautiful. It's quite amazing. It's going to be a new sound to jazz, quite powerful also.
Ted Lowe takes a road less traveled.
I'm not using a jazz drummer for this gig, totally just using the orchestral instruments because I want to respect the tradition of the Chinese instrument. And it's quite challenging for the rhythm, for them to create a jazz beat, a groove.
Ted spent 6 months composing and rearranging music for a jazz concert with the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra this February.
For the first time, I'm arranging a lot of my old songs, but in this format with the Chinese orchestra. Prior to this, I had no idea about most of the Chinese instruments, their characters, and I'm learning as I go. Let's say the yiwu, that would be the closest instrument to violins, although it has only 2 strings, but very expressive. I feel that music has always been evolving, all kinds of possibilities. It's a fusion of cultures, and so it's great to have an open mind for us to listen.
Ted grew up in a family where music played an important role. Nephew Justin Lowe is a pop star. Ted himself started with pop and rock music. He embraced jazz when he emigrated to Canada in his teens.
The basic elements of jazz are the rhythms, the harmony, and the vocabulary for the improvisation. Just express music freely. That's very challenging. I like that feeling.
At the age of 21, he went to Boston to study jazz at the world-renowned Berklee College of Music, becoming its first graduate from Hong Kong.
I just love music too much. I was determined to be a jazz pianist.
Ted Lowe. In 1979, he moved to New York City to fulfill that dream.
Yeah, I learned so much being in New York. Atmosphere is different here. If it's a jazz club, it's a jazz club, not a music room. So we expect 100% jazz audience. Musicianship is much higher. So many jazz musicians in New York that I can work with or collaborate.
In the late 80s, Ted was invited to work on some cantopop projects. He eventually moved back to Hong Kong.
When I came back to Hong Kong, I said, wow, they call me godfather of jazz. Come on, in America, there's no way I'll be godfather of jazz. As a local musician now, my main bread and butter is usually not jazz. I have to produce, arrange, and whatever, to make a living.
For Ted, jazz will always be his greatest love. 2 years ago, he took up drums as his second instrument.
There's so much to learn, right? Never ending.
The Ted Lo and Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra Extravaganza played to a full house at the Cultural Center.
Jazz and Chinese, it's a very fusion. I believe there will be jazz audience, there will be a more mature audience, and so there's a young crowd also too.
And young musicians too. At 23, harmonica player Leo Ho is a chip off the old block.
I have been listening to the harmonica sound since I was born, so it sounds very familiar to me.
Leo started taking formal lessons at 6 from his dad. Ho Pak Cheung leads the world champion ensemble, the King's Harmonica Quintet.
The harmonica has a very unique sound with a very sorrow and somehow very deep and very bluesy sound, but at the same time it could be classically beautiful. The diversity of this tonality is very amazing.
At 19, Leo had already accumulated 17 international championships playing classical music on the harmonica.
Very good to be able to see it grab many awards from the solo categories, which is really broad, shows that Hong Kong can produce a harmonica player. Really something like a dream happens.
2 years ago, the world-class classical musician decided to switch to jazz.
If you want to educate the citizens about this instrument, classical might not be the best genre to work on. So I was trying to explore different kind of music. When I get into jazz, it is just so tempting. The first thing is, it is so elegant, so beautiful, so spontaneous. The second thing is, it is so difficult. It takes a lot of courage indeed, because you have been playing classical music for 13 years, you got all the titles, and then when you step into the jazz scene, you have to admit, you have to learn from zero.
At first, Leo learnt jazz tunes by ear, online and at live jazz concerts.
The first jazz concert I've ever been to was Ted Lo, Eugene Bao, Scott Dodd. That was an incredible experience. I made a promise to myself, someday I have to play on the same stage with these musicians.
And he did, after he was discovered busking on the streets by some of those same musicians and later invited to jam with them. Ted Lo even took him on as a student.
Let's try it again. F sharp, C sharp, F sharp to my B to my A.
I'm trying to explore to the end of the technical approach on harmonica for jazz. So me and Ted always discussing about which kind of lines works best on harmonica. I'm so enjoying this because I'm doing something new that no one has done.
He's got the advantage over a lot of players. That's a real plus, the fact that he's so well trained as a classical musician. During the lesson, with him, there's no problem technically. Only the vocabulary, the right notes, the phrasing.
They formed a jazz band along with other musicians.
When I started, I didn't know anything. So it was a blast that they allowed me to try with error.
Sense 99 in Central, if you can find it.
So looking forward to hear you guys, man. It's a new start thing.
For 5 months now, Tarifa Cheung, a 32-year-old jazz guitarist, has been curating jazz performances here every Thursday.
Jazz is such a minority art form.
The audience can pay nothing or buy a drink.
We need more people to be exposed to this music. Actually, nowadays there are a lot more young teenagers who are interested in jazz. We always need more venues that people can hang out and play and jam.
But the musicians don't get paid either.
As a jazz musician, we need to perform the music as an art form, not just to entertain people. I see a lot of potentials here. Definitely not in a commercial way, but potentials like in terms of artistic development.
Tarifa majored in jazz at the University of North Texas in the US. After graduation, he worked as a jazz guitarist in New York for 5 years.
In New York, all kinds of world-class players, you have to, I wouldn't say compete, but it's in the same city. In Hong Kong, it's easier to starting your own projects and have more people to be aware of that. There's a bit more opportunities here for sure for young artists.
In 2015, Tarifa was invited back to compose and conduct for a 16-piece jazz orchestra that played the Hong Kong episode concert at the Hong Kong World Culture Festival.
I never really had the opportunity to do something like that in that scale, so for me it's something I can't say no to.
Back home to stay, Tarifa is also working with other music genres, such as indie rock band Chochukmo's vocalist Jan Curious to fuse jazz with pop music.
Jazz 係一樣好 classy 嘅嘢，點樣又可以令到佢好 layman 咧？我諗到最貼地就係街頭嘅音樂啦，所以就係諗係一種好 hip hop 嘅 beat。
Both afraid to say we just too far away.
When I have to work with this guy, we both have to step out of our own comfort zone. We don't just play something people like. We have to try something new, pushing boundaries.
You might think jazz is something that really classy and you only watch it in theater, but to be honest, it came from the street. That's what jazz is. We want to bring it back to the street.
Jazz is huge. For the new generation, we have like some interesting rhythm, harmonies, fascinating, quite exciting.
Many bars start to have a jazz night. The whole situation is getting better.
More young people coming up who's passionate about the music, so I'm optimistic about that.
What is jazz really like? It changed every decade.
Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, as well as online and on mobile apps. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck, and good health.